Well, kids, now you're an expert and can explain to anybody who asks that the low latitudes on Earth receive excess energy and there is a deficit of energy at high latitudes, and hence we must constantly move energy from low latitudes to high latitudes, and we are getting this done with the winds. But now you have to understand the patterns in the winds. You already know that there is a rotational effect, the so-called Coriolis effect, which moves things to the right of the direction of motion in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere, which means winds cannot just go from the equator to the poles and from the poles to the equator. They will be tilted, which means you end up with winds, so-called systems of winds, like trade winds in the tropics, and then mid-latitude westerlies and the polar easterlies in the atmosphere. When winds are coming from the west, we call them westerlies, and when they are going from the east to the west, we call them easterlies. Trade winds are going from the northeast to the southwest around the equator, and from the southeast to the northwest, and they are converging into a rain band. Why is that? Because when winds come together, they rise into the atmosphere and they expand, cool, and form clouds and create rain, which means the winds that are converging go up and then they must diverge at the roof of the atmosphere. We call the tropopause, remember, and they must sink somewhere. So when they sink, they will produce clear skies, unlike when they converge and produce clouds and rain. So you have clear skies and high pressure in some places where winds are sinking, and there are other places in high latitudes where winds converge and then it's cold, so they produce snow and ice instead of rain like they do in low latitudes. All these are working together to move energy to the north, and winds are also forcing the ocean and creating currents in the ocean. So ocean is also going back and forth, east, west, north, south, and is moving heat. How do they work together? We'll see a little bit about that later. If you're too young and this is all too complicated for you, do not worry, just listen and try to understand as much as possible, and later on in life you will get to learn more. Okay, see you in the next podcast, but in the meantime watch this podcast and let me know if you have any questions, children.